Welcome again to Real Estate Chat. We're here today on a beautiful, trying to be spring day. Would you say, Ronnie? It's trying to be spring?
It is. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Melting like crazy.
Came out without my
Ron
coat.
Hauth and Robert Ede. And what today is it took me a while to do all my in-depth look at the February Market Watch, which came out last Wednesday. This is now the 11th of March. And I sent it out as a summary to myself and to the few other fellows and to Ron. And Ron said, "Hey, let's talk about that." So I said, "Okay, let's make a video." So here we are the next morning, and we're making a video of what happened. So, what happened in your young life since the last time we talked, Ronnie?
Well, a few interesting things. Not for real estate chat, but
Oh, okay, sure.
another time. Uh, Working away, the usual things, but
Okay.
find the market pretty hesitant still. And I'm trying to follow what's going on with the tariffs and the economy, and I'm not sure quite what to make of it, but
Well, if you can follow that and know what's going on, then you are brilliant. But I
well,
can't. I've just put that out of my mind. When that's all settled out in 2 months, then we'll
yeah,
know. In the meantime, everybody's second guessing somebody else, and it's just, I know it's a mess and that it's causing people to be concerned and to do all kinds of strange things that they normally wouldn't do because they didn't have to think about them. So
right.
we want them to go back to normal.
And all after following it for a little bit to see if I can figure it out, which I can't,
Yeah,
think, well, I've got business to look after and people that want to buy and sell and answer, have questions answered and think about moving. They all have to keep moving forward with their own lives, in spite of what's happening. So the real estate market is moving along.
that's right.
Although,
It's the people business. It's not the
yeah,
bricks and mortar business. It's the finance business and the people business.
right.
Okay, let's get to our topic at hand. The first thing that I made as an observation was sales are off by 44 to 46%, which is using this first chart that's up there of the sales. And tell me if that strikes you in any particular way, because I've looked at this so many times, I know what it says, but someone looking at it with fresh eyes may have better insights.
Yeah, it is following somewhat the usual pattern of increase in activity early in the year, but at a much lower level than we're
Much
going
lower level. It's the 30th best in the
30th
last
best.
30 years.
Right.
It's the
So
worst. It's the worst, February.
right, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah. So
You're just too much diplomatic, young fellow.
yes, I know. Thank you. That's good and not so good. Yeah, so it is sales are increasing. It's following the same annual pattern so far, but just so hesitant in spite of an increase in activity. It's not dramatic, and it's pointing to a much slower, yes, slower, hesitant year so
That's
far.
right. I say the real estate spring has been prorogued. We had this in the news
Ah,
recently.
okay, that's a good way to
And
look at
so
it.
it's sort of stalled and stunned, and all of the things that can happen are ready to go. There's nothing stopping it, but it's stunned. It's in suspended animation. Okay.
Yeah,
So
maybe
this
people are.
one, sorry, go ahead, Ron.
I was gonna say maybe people are dipping their toes in the water, but choosing not to go in.
Well, I think we talked
That's
about this the last
the
time that
analogy.
that's exactly right. And then you throw in this is if you have kids, you went on school break vacation this week. And
Right,
last week, if you didn't have kids, you had a spring break vacation when the kids weren't all there to get in your way. So 2 weeks of dead. And so March got off to a slow start after February got off to a slow start. So we'll see. But
right.
definitely, we think that by March the 15th, we'll know what's happening. I'm going to give it another month. Let's give it till April the 15th before we even think what's happening in the first quarter, even though the first quarter will be completely finished. This is going to really throw off the monthly pundits. They won't know what to think with their seasonally adjusted information. Okay, so the next thing is prices. My observation on the email I sent around was prices remain, this is incorrect, it's the fourth highest February on record, believe it or don't. And you can see they're all clustered tight together in between 2, 3, 4. Number one being a sky high rocket ship. But so it can't be that bad. Mr. Corey came back and said, well, prices seem to be not falling. And again, how does that strike you?
Prices are continue to go up on my own graphs. See that in spite of all the ups and downs, small ups and downs, the long-term trend has been up. So this February, then the previous one and the previous one before that, it's still much higher.
Well, they're edging higher rather than edging down.
Yeah,
And I think that's what we as representatives of people who want to sell their houses, they want to find out that it's not worth less than it was last month. Okay, so this is the same information except using my what I call school year chart. It starts in
yeah,
September, and the reason for it is to show December and January rather than them being at the extremes on the outside of the graph that you don't see on a January through December chart. You see it right in the middle in your front of your face. So here we see, as you described, the pattern, and it's edged up again. It's the fourth highest, but it's not setting any price records.
no,
So the next one is taking out that hero year, like the calendar year you take apart from 21 and 22. And so
right.
this leaves the other normal years, and we throw the hero year out as an aberration. So this is the third highest February, all in a pretty tight cluster, and all following the same pattern. So it's the only good thing about removing peak that's of this chart is it gets your attention away from January, February, March, April, May of 2022 when everything was the sky's the limit, and we've never seen it again. So that's a distraction, and so that's the reason
Yeah,
for
that,
this one.
that puts it in a much different perspective, that's for sure.
I think I didn't use it for a
Yeah,
while, but it's particular now that we have everything clustered together, we can take that out and say it's an anomaly. Let's get rid of it. Okay. So the Toronto Real Estate Board puts out a news release, a 3-page summary that they send out to the newspapers. And the newspapers take all of their data from there. If you hear the month to month or year over year comparison or seasonally adjusted in the Toronto Star, it's from this news release. They don't look at the market watch, they look at the news release. So
right.
when I was going through here, I flip over the page, and here, look at this. This year, the Toronto 416 average price was 187, 1087. And last year it was 1074. So it's up a smidge. Oh, 905. The rest of it, everything else, was 1082, almost 83 in 25 February. And last year, February, it was higher. So it's down a smidge. So isn't this interesting that what's going on here? What's going on here? We can't tell what's going on here because there's so many sales in 905. That trend overwhelms the Toronto trend. But the Toronto trend, which was lagging earlier, December, January, is now emerging. And what was going on in 905 is just like you described, calming down. People are being more tentative. They're not launching ahead into spring. They're being tentative.
Yeah,
We've got
so
one later on, or maybe it's not even in this, where
yeah,
everything's off by 44% and 28%. Sorry, Ron.
I wondered if some of the much higher priced properties would have sold in Toronto, which wouldn't take too many of those to
Move the price.
change that average. Yeah,
Well, we
maybe.
saw that it was mainly in Toronto. Toronto dipped below a million as an average in January because it was all condos. And
Right.
you're quite right now, you've got more of a regular mix of everything selling, like anything in C4 that comes out and it's new and fresh, gets 10 offers on it and it sells. And there's $2 million you add to the selling average. So you're quite right in saying that the mix of properties in 416, it's helping its price not go down, where the inertia that's happening generally is not helping pull up 905 to the same degree as it is the housing mix in 416. Okay. Now here's my favorite thing, relists. That the board has defined a relist as if it's the same property and the same owner and the same listing agent, I say listing brokerage, but it's so that if the Joe Blow moves to XYZ Realty from ABC and takes his listing with him, it doesn't count. Within the period of time of the original listing, if it's put through the system again and they attempt to put it through either to change the strategy or change the price or raise the price or whatever they're doing, within the same original listing period and put it through as a new listing by canceling the former one, they don't count it, or they count it as a relist in addition to counting as two new listings. So if what I do is say, this is ridiculous. It's deforming the market. Let's subtract out those relists, those do-overs, because it's a significant number. Corey said in the meeting that he thought it was a third of them because he has to sign the terminations of in the office in order to get a listing
Right.
terminated. You have to have
Yeah.
the broker manager sign it. So he's having to sign all these darn things because people are saying, oh, nobody wanted it 1.2, even though I told them they were going to get multiple offers. So we better put it back up at 1.7 like we were supposed to all the time. Anyway, so the Toronto Real Estate Board, I pointed it out to them. They said, oh, it's just a phenomenon that it comes and goes with the market. And it'll go away when things perk up again, because that's what had happened every time during the study period they had from 2003 to 2017 or whenever the heck it was that they did the study. And it did go away whenever the market picked up. The darn thing different now is there's no market pickup. And so it's a continuing phenomenon, and it's a new tool in the listing relators. That's how they say it in the United States. Listing relators belt buckle toolkit rather is what I'm trying to say, that if they say, oh well, it didn't work that way, then we'll just cancel it and get rid of the history and we'll start over again as if it never was there before. And the owner says, man, that's fantastic, and he doesn't realize that he just has the listing extended by another 2 months on him. However, the whole
Mm.
idea of list low on purpose and then hold offers for 7-9 days and get a whole bunch of offers in 7-9 days and sell it for way over what you were asking are over. And so that
Yes,
rising
that's not
market
happening. Yeah.
strategy is backfiring. So we've got to find a way to motivate either the listing broker who's signing those cancellations or the agent or the owner to not do that, because no buyer likes to see a new listing at an attractive price come through and say, oh, no offers till next week. They say, well, what do they really want? What am I going to do? Do I put an offer on it? Anyway, you know that whole story.
Yeah.
So um, quickly, I'm going to say what this chart is about, and then you tell me what you think about relists, because maybe I'm the only one in the whole world that's crazy. Because
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
because in November, the Toronto Real Estate Board came out with a chart on relists, and it was ridiculous. It said 5% of them were relisted. So I phoned the guy up and said, something's wrong here. I'm charting inventory, which is what I can chart. I'm charting terminations, and I'm correlating them ever since you started doing this to come up with a relationship so that when you put out your new listings and relists, I can see whether it's in line with, it's two different phenomenon that you're measuring, but they normally move together, inventory and new and stuff like that. Anyway, so he says, "Oh well, we don't know what happened there. Let me tell you, get back to you." So they removed the November relist report. They didn't publish one in December. They didn't publish one in January. But then when they reformatted all of their presentation of realms information, they put it out again. But it was the November one, and they haven't done again with the February results a relist report. So I was guessing as a 20% share, meaning of all the listings that came through. In this case, 12,000 were said on the market watch that came through as new listings. So I said, this time 25%, 3,000 of those were relists, which gives us actual 9,000 new listings, and then plug those into the same parameters that we use all the time. So that's what this chart is. The blue one is what the publication is, and the red one is if you subtract the do-overs, what you've actually got. So we vary from the 5 and 10 year, here's them dotted in the middle, by either 8% or 1%, like 5 years almost bang on if you count their way, but we know that's not right. So what do you think about relist, Ronnie, as a phenomenon? Ronnie, did I lose you? Ronnie, you're muted.
There we go. I don't know what happened. I didn't touch anything. How about now?
Sometimes maybe I must have talked for too long.
Yeah, oh, maybe. You've
Look,
never done that before.
as a realtor in residence of the world, what do you think of this relist phenomena that every third listing you see come through the system this year is a duplicate? Oh, didn't I see that last year?
Yeah, it does skew the perception of the market, that's for sure. So they're not all new listings. They're extended properties. Some of them have been on the market for ages.
Well, and we had this all the time. We call them reruns, where you change the price, you extend it, you whatever it was. You just a rerun. It's the same listing. None of this canceling for strategic reasons, the history, so that it goes away for anybody who doesn't look it up.
So
Okay.
it doesn't make sense to do it anymore because the history is always there for anybody to see.
Math, yes,
Unlike
it's part of the new listing where it's a giant six screens that there's the history. You're right. Doesn't make any sense. They should
unlike
stop doing it.
yeah, absolutely. It just the history disappeared years ago, and it did look like a fresh new listing, unless somebody was clever enough to figure out that it was
Exactly,
listed before.
exactly. So I'll tell you what, next time I ask you in a month or so, figure out a way that we can change the MLS rules to motivate either the agent who's got the listing, the owner who's got the house, or the listing broker who's got to sign the cancellation to stop them from doing it. I don't know
Yeah,
how to do it.
it's a
I
good.
made a suggestion, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. They just
Ah.
keep on making
Oh,
money.
so you made it to the real estate board?
Oh, I've been it to the real estate board a million times, but they don't care.
Oh,
And so I made it to the Facebook on Realm, and they rejected it because it's not on the topic of realm.
oh, oh.
I had to just
Okay.
put it on my own on this same thing. If you look up, when I see this is on robertede.com or unclebobexplains.com blog, our little talks. Anyway, so here's the next part of the same of this relist. We'll move on. If you subtract the relists from new listings, then you have a different number to use in ratio, in relation to the number of sales. For years, we've used the sales to new listing ratio, which is not a ratio, but doesn't matter. That's only for mathematicians. And found out it's the pace of the market. Are all the new listings or a number of sales equal to the new listings, gobbling them all up, or are they building them? That's what we're trying to find out. And so they have a few different ratios. One is 60 to 65%, depending on who you talk to. Over that is determined to be a seller's market. And 40 or 45% um, underneath that is a buyer's market, and in the middle is balance. So using these two charts, the black is the net new listings. So it says we're in a balanced market with at 44.6%. Wild times ahead, it's been up over 100 a few times and down very low at other times. The standard method, which the Toronto Real Estate Board puts out, because they've got their new listing number, 6,066, divided by their number of sales, 4,307 or whatever it is, to get 33. But that's a much different thing. The difference between an extreme buyer's market at 33% of listings selling and at 45% is much different. It's much different. Anyway, okay, enough of that. So this is why we use, and you've been using it for your months of inventory. And so we're
Right.
just a tad below 5. I think we put you on the spot last time and said, what do you think about 5 months of inventory, Ron?
I would have to look at my own graphs, but it's they're much the same though. In this case, uh, we are
5 bad?
still.
Is 5 terrible? Is 4 good? Is 4 bad? Is 3 good? Is 4 bad? What's good? What's
Yeah,
bad?
I was just trying to think back relative to what it was when we had really bad markets, the 2008 market, which you've got here. We had a
8 and
bad
18.
point.
No, we're not anywhere up near there. We've been
No,
we've been hovering around 2 all through this most recent boom. And this boom has been
right,
going so long that most of the people that have their registration at this time, they didn't retire in glory or out of old age, don't remember anything before 2007 because they
right,
just weren't of the age of majority at that time.
right. Yeah.
Never mind being a registrant, never mind any of that stuff.
So
So
yeah,
this is
so
another thing that I use to keep track of the pace. What are the days of the market and the listing days in the market compared to the long-term average? So both of them went down. You can see these lines diving down from January to February, diving down, except they dived it down property days on the market. That's all added together to 43, but it should be 23 or 24. So it's still 46% above where it should be. Taking longer to sell, the ones that do. Listing days in the market, 37 less, but still should be 18. So you can't fudge that one. So there's our last chart of these amazing observations that occurred to me when doing the chart. So is there something that is sticking in your craw that you want to talk about?
Nothing, nothing in particular. Just it's a friend told me once. He said there's never going to be a day where properties don't sell on the Toronto Real Estate Board. So there's always activity, even though it's a little reserved at the moment. But people have to move or want to move, and we'll keep moving forward.
Okay, here's some trailblazer. What do they call hot pot questions? So if they drop the interest rate by 0.25 on Wednesday, is that going to make a big difference?
I think it'll give people more confidence, but maybe those dipping their toes will dip them in a little further and actually maybe take that step. But not, I don't suspect a huge difference. It'll probably make people feel more comfortable that they may move forward this year.
Okay, now they'll put you on the spot. So if in a few days, our friend Trudeau too resigns and is replaced by this new fellow that just got elected on the weekend, and that new fella says, I do not want to hold an election till the summer. Will that be a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, that's a good question. They may do it now to capitalize on momentum that he seems to have. Whether that's a good thing for the economy or not.
Well, no, we're talking about the real estate business. So I think I gave you the wrong question. The question is, if he takes over and then immediately says, okay, starting as soon as we possibly can, we're going to begin an election, and as soon as we possibly can, after that will be the election date. So let's say that it's May the 1st. I don't know. So if he does it as quickly as possible, which many people on the CBC are expecting him to do, is that something good? Is that clearing out an uncertainty, or is that just giving a new uncertainty to the Toronto Real Estate Board spring market?
Oh, that's a good question. It'll clear out an uncertainty. We're kind of rudderless, I think, at the moment, with the being between prime ministers and
In a hard place.
yeah. So I think having an election will instill some confidence that it'll be solidified. The government will be solidified for the next 4 years.
Okay, well, let's say it's a conservative majority or it's a liberal minority, or a conservative minority. Will we have certainty?
Oh, now that's a good question. I haven't been following the.
Okay, well, forget that. Now that Rob Ford's in there with a slightly less majority, did it change anything?
No.
So anybody who waited for the whole period of time for the election to take place, did they gain anything or lose anything?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I think he would have done what he was going to do anyways.
So the election was useless? You agree with me? Yes, was an exercise in futility. He got fewer seats and extended his time. That's all. He just got a new listing for longer at a slightly reduced price.
Cancellation of relist. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got to admit that I got a little bit hot under the collar when we couldn't get this thing to work right at the very beginning. But now it's calmed down. I wish we could go for 2 hours, but I'm going to go to my gym class very, very soon. So I'm going to wind this up and we'll send this off for processing, and let's hope other people enjoy doing it as much as I do, and I hope you do.
All right. Well, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. So Ron Hauth in the greater, I guess, looking at the background, you still got that background. You're not experimenting with backgrounds anymore.
Oh, no, I didn't. I forgot.
Wilderness of Willowdale, and Robert Ede in the panhandle of Macomb say hasta la vista, baby.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Okay.
This call is terminated.
Call is terminated. That's it. Stop.